And for more on the Iran war, I'm now joined by our panel, Lieutenant Colonel Kempfer, a former Marine intelligence officer, and Jamil Jaffer, a former White House and congressional advisor and the founder and executive director of the National Security Institute. Boy, what a great panel tonight. Gentlemen, welcome. We have a lot of topics to get through. Jamil, I'll start with you. The president was in New York. We just saw Hena talking about that. He was campaigning. And he said about the Strait of Hormuz that it might be U.S. territory. Is that even possible? We know the strait is an international waterway. Is this feasible at all? Can the U.S. simply claim an international waterway?
Well, look, it's unlikely that the U.S. is actually going to claim the Strait of Hormuz. I think what the president's the point he's trying to make is that we're going to do what we've done for the last 40, 50 years, which is to open the strait back up, make it an international waterway, free it from Iranian control. The claim that that the strait was always Iranian, is Iranian, will always be Iranian, is laughable on its face. It's never been the case. In fact, President Reagan made that clear when he used the tanker wars and actually escorted ships through that strait to make sure Iran couldn't close it. President Trump should do exactly the same thing, get aggressive, take out any Iranian efforts that try to come after our warships and start escorting another 100 ships through the strait, not just a handful.
Colonel Kempfer, I want to ask you about the USS Abraham Lincoln. It's been at sea in the Mideast for more than 260 days. That's a long deployment by any account, a record period of uninterrupted time at sea for a modern warship. There have been reports of supply problems, mental health strain on the carrier. We know the USS George Washington is now being deployed from Vietnam to replace it. But the president didn't seem that concerned when he talked to the press about this yesterday. Let's play a part of that. I'll talk to you on the other side, Colonel.
That ship is moving. No, they're not. That ship is moving right now, or very shortly, and it's being replaced with another very similar ship.
Has the deployment's gone on too long?
No. Not nearly long enough.
All right, let's set aside the food and supply complaints, Colonel. What does a deployment as long as this do to morale, and at what point does low morale become a readiness problem?
Well, Hena, obviously it's wearing on the crew. It's wearing on the sailors and Marines who are there. Normally when you go out on deployment, you're thinking around 6 months. Now, it's not uncommon to push that out to 8 months or more, but we've seen some very long deployments with these ships. One of the big things, and this is a problem with carriers, they're so big, there's not that many ports they can actually pull into for port calls. Well, this carrier has been at sea for over 200 days. It has not had a port call. And also, we talk about logistics and everything else that weighs into it. It's all replenishment at sea. Without a port call, you're not going to get a lot of the things that you would normally get in terms of logistics, replenishment, fresh fruit, things like that. So it's wearing on the troops. It's wearing on their families. That's the big thing. And that's psychologically wearing, emotionally wearing. But Marines and sailors are particularly resilient. That's the business, and there's a whole program in place to help them.
And we have the best military in the world. Jamil, I want to ask you about economics. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is promising additional economic pressure on Iran just this week. The U.S. blockade of the strait, the sanctions already in place against Iran. But realistically, how much economic leverage does Washington have left in this war 6 months later?
Well, I think the most leverage that we can extract is to actually get the world price of oil down, and that means reopening the strait, right? Ensuring that the blockade against Iran remains in place and that we break their blockade, which is blocking the Strait of Hormuz. If we do that, we reverse the strategic calculus, turn it back in our favor, and allow us to negotiate a proper end to this conflict. Iran keeps threatening us because they think they have the upper hand. The way to break that upper hand is to break their blockade and keep ours in place.
Colonel Kempfer, Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon killed people today. This is very recent. This after a Hezbollah attack wounded 3 Israeli soldiers. Israel and Hezbollah, and I believe you and I talked about it, they agreed to a ceasefire back in June. How quickly could this very fragile truce unravel?
Well, it looks like it's starting to unravel already. The issue is that the government of Lebanon and Israel have agreed to go through this program of disarming Hezbollah in particular zones or particular areas as they move through. This sector-by-sector disarming is something that Hezbollah disagrees with. Obviously, Iran wants to keep Hezbollah as its fully armed proxy over there. The issue is that the government of Lebanon and Israel are actually on the same sheet of music. This is somewhat historic, and they're moving through and doing this. This is the biggest proxy that Iran has. So in that regard, I don't see Hezbollah stepping down or going along with this anytime soon, so I think we're going to see more of the same.
Jamil, Iran earlier this week signaled it could drag this war out until President Trump leaves office. Does Tehran now see our country's political clock as one of its most effective weapons? They keep saying time is on our side.
Yeah, they do seem to think that the upcoming elections and the 2 years that President Trump will have left in office after that point are to their advantage. Of course, I think that's probably measuring President Trump wrong. They didn't estimate that he'd go after their nuclear program. They didn't think he'd start by striking them. And now they estimate that he'll back off because he's worried about high gas prices. And the problem is that over the last few months, that's shown some merit over time where he keeps trying to negotiate with them. But at some point, he's going to get tired of playing Charlie Brown to Iran's Lucy with the football, and he's going to stop running up to it, and he's going to start taking them out. And that's when they need to be warned and need to be very wary of that. They can keep making these, putting these tweets out in the light, but at some point, President Trump's not going to take it anymore, and then it's going to be an ugly situation for the Iranians.
Yeah, Colonel Kempfer, on the other side, we know Iran's been devastated by this war, militarily, economically. Do they even have the ability to drag out the war for another few years until the end of President Trump's term?
Well, Hena, in their minds, they look at our press, they see our media stuff saying, oh, we got the midterms, we've got all this pressure, gas prices, and they read into that a lot. And historically, they've always been able to outlast the U.S. The U.S. goes in there, we negotiate with them, and eventually we get worn down and we kind of disengage, and they kind of get what they want at the end of the day. Obviously, things have changed. I think the fact that we're in this war tells you things have changed. And so they think that it's weighing heavily on their minds. The other problem, though, is they have no concern about the pain and suffering of the Iranian people. Although I think that's going to catch up with them. The protests in January and December were about economics, and the economic pain is as tough as it's ever been.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Hal Kempfer, Jamil Jaffer, always a pleasure. Thank you for your insight, gentlemen. I'll see you soon. Thank you again.